All right, it's Friday night. CPS Victims Hunting Justice. I'm your host, CPS Victims Hunting Justice host. I'm CPS Punisher. It's the weekend, guys, so make sure that you remember: do not let CPS in your house. Even if they come, tell them that they need to have a warrant. Don't do anything that they say to do unless it's court ordered, or they have a warrant, or they have something. I'm sorry that we were late tonight. I had a couple of things come up, but we're here and we're together, and we're going to talk CPS tonight. So here we go. Let's see Vinny.
Maybe. There we
Vinny.
are.
Vinny's in the house.
I am here with
music service. Unavailable. All right, so we're going to do this here. No, not that one. We'll put this one on. Here we go. There we go, Vinny. We'll put a little. There we go. Get the background music going now. So, Vinny, how's your day, buddy? What's been going on? Anything good?
I got a few things done in the yard. I spoke to Richard earlier today. That was an interesting conversation me and him had.
Oh yeah.
I talked to him. Well, I talked to him about the guardian ad litem and how she hasn't spoken to anyone on my side of the family whatsoever. She's spoken to the people up north, but she has not put any effort into speaking to anyone in my family. And I told him, I said, this is a problem because she's supposed to, by court order of the judge, be talking to every single party involved, and she's not doing her job, so I want her taken off this case.
Mm-hmm. And the response was?
And he said that we can definitely look into that, where Lynn has her hearing coming up this coming month.
What does look into that mean? What you're going to look into it? It's pretty explanatory, right? Like it says, these are the rules and the guidelines. Now, if we break these rules and these guidelines and everything, immediately they punish us with our kids. Like they immediately punish us. There's no let's look into it. Let's do this and do that. They immediately take our kids from us, and that's it. So I don't understand why there's always this unreciprocated relationship between the courts and the lawyers and the GALs and all of these people that are breaking the rules. But when it's us from our parents and our parents are on the line, they just immediately well, you don't get to see your kid anymore, and that's it.
Yeah.
About this, there's no any of that shit. It's just immediately they just take our freaking kids. That's it. I don't get to see.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. But I know he's supposed to be working on the summary thing for the expedited hearing that we're filing for. Hopefully he was able to reach Lynn's attorney today, but I'm not sure if he was able to or not. They were supposed to have a phone call. But if not, I'm sure he'll be sending out an email and I'll be seeing it. But in the meantime, he's supposed to work on the summary for the expedited judicial review and get it back to me before the end of the week. So,
right. But again, if that was us, you broke some rules immediately. Your shit was being imposed immediately. Not let's look into it. Not let's blah blah blah. It would be immediate, and this it's not right. They don't go for court orders. They don't. There's none of that goes on there. Not a damn bit of that goes on when you're the parent. They just take your kids from you. They penalize you with your children. They penalize you with your visits. They penalize you with all of that stuff, and it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But you're going to wait. How long is it going to take for you to get this done? Weeks?
I'm not sure. I mean, the summary is supposed to be done this weekend, he said. He's in the office Saturday. So he is going to be working on it because he's got a lot of paperwork to catch up with. But I also put in there that we want to challenge jurisdiction.
Right. Which should be instant. It should be automatic. Everything gets put on hold. Because once you challenge jurisdiction, everything stops, or is supposed to stop.
Because they're operating right now. They got the kids all in 3 different counties. So jurisdiction is like all over the place. Even with the criminal case is based out of Cumberland, and supposedly all this happened between Piscataquis and Cumberland County. So why is this being held in Kennebec County?
Right. Yeah.
It should not be in Kennebec County. It should be in Cumberland County.
Well, regardless, it's supposed to be, the way the law reads is that it's supposed to be wherever the child lays their head for 6 months. So that's the way the law reads, is where the jurisdiction lies.
And so, they were here. They were here. We were here for more than a year.
But in the state of Maine, the probate court's supposed to handle this stuff before it goes to the district courts and so on. So if you didn't even have that dealt with first, it's like one of only 2 states that do that now. They've changed it all. But, and that's my challenge jurisdiction, but they just blew right over it. Like it didn't matter. But a question of jurisdiction is supposed to halt everything. That should be in anybody's cards immediately when they first take your kids. I think that should be the set standard rule, immediately challenging jurisdiction, because the problem is the longer that they have your kids, the longer they're gaining access to that jurisdiction. But when they first take them, if you challenge jurisdiction, where would that lead them? You know what I mean? Whether they had subject matter jurisdiction, whether they had any of the other jurisdictions. There's not just the location of jurisdiction. There's subject matter. There's all kinds.
But see, they didn't even, and that's where I'm coming up on a lot of things, because I talked to him about that today too. When they took the kids, they didn't have a court order in hand until 10/10 is when the judge actually signed the preliminary protection order.
Right.
So they took the kids and had them for 5 days in their custody. That's kidnapping legally.
Correct. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So what does that mean? Does that mean I go to the FBI and I report that they kidnapped my children, and then all of a sudden it launches an investigation into them?
Do it. That's what Gunner's saying. Do it, man. Put these people on blast. Whatever you have for evidence on these people that can put them in any sort of legal trouble, put them on it, dude. Just do
I
it.
got tons. I got tons, because when they initially came out to the house, I told that lady that came to my house. Well, it wasn't my house at the time, but it was a friend's house. I told that lady, I said, "You're not welcome here. Please leave," and shut the door. And she knocked back on the door and got Lynn, and Lynn let her in. That's still violating my rights, because I said no.
Yeah, you're the man in the house, baby. Castle.
Hi, Gunner. Hi, Herbert.
Who's gonna piss off today?
Piss him off, Gunner. Piss him off.
Well, let's piss them all off.
That case, matter of fact, in our evidence that we have in there, we actually attached, it's an excerpt from a CPS auditor off of the East Coast that actually deals with a lot of case law with entering into your home and questioning. And number one, unless they have it, here's the thing. Well, they gave permission. No, they coerced their way in. Just what Vinny said. When you apply this case law that we have in there, it says you cannot enter a police officer or any representative of the government according to federal case law unless you have a warrant or court order and or an emergency. Now, you go back to an emergency where you find the evidence for that under policies and procedures. CPS's policies and procedure, if there's an imminent danger, they are to back out of the house and call the police immediately, 911. That is their procedure and policy. If an officer realizes there is such an emergency, they are to call into dispatch, which there is a complete record calling into dispatch. So when you subpoena those things, they say, where's the phone call to 911? Where's on dispatch that the officer called in for help? It doesn't exist. So now there's no emergency. See, you've just disquantified that. There's no emergency. If there was, your policies and procedures, which is where you hang them, you didn't follow them. So, and that means you got to come up with something, give them enough rope to hang themselves. Well, there was an emergency. Well, what was it? Well, we did this and that, and we didn't have time. That completely contradicts my story that you have first person. How were you able to do that without getting into the house?
And they made me leave on foot.
You have to have that reasonable articulated suspicion of an emergency before you even enter. You don't go in and go, oh, now I found the emergency. That's not the way that shit works.
Yeah, it's just
hello, Debbie.
Too many people just let them walk in, man. You get so scared, like your kids are at stake. So that's the biggest fear of any parent, is that day when CPS comes. You know, like that's definitely like one of the biggest. So you automatically forget everything you know because you're so panicked. You know,
But
like
listen, that case law though
mm-hmm.
says if it's not an emergency or you don't have a warrant or court order, everything else is coercion, illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That judge spells it out in that case law. It's one or the other. Produce one or the other. If not, we do have a Fourth Amendment violation. It also
See,
goes on. It says if you question people on their own private property, is also a form of seizure under the Fourth Amendment, hence unconstitutional. By just entering and questioning you on your home, they have already committed 2 felonies. Felonies. So them going before a judge and say, well, they gave me permission to come in. If you quote the case law, Your Honor, objection. No, that's a Fourth Amendment. And you should know this. This particular case law says anything else, and they won't hear it. They won't even, they'll ignore it completely. And there's the problem. I've had several conversations with several lawyers, this and that. Some of these guys that are federal lawyers, they're usually part of a larger firm and they have a family law center. And they're sick of seeing this shit. They're fed up. They just don't know what to do. How do we do this? How do we stop it? And so now we're getting in with some of the stuff that we've shown. I think Benny's benefited from some of the stuff we sent off. We've got several other people that we're trying to educate people that we're paying top dollar for as representatives to know the fucking law and to hold them accountable. But they're not. Why am I having to do your fucking homework? You should know this shit. First place you should go is federal law. Right there's your quantifier.
I can say that they are definitely in the CPS side, anyways. He definitely is hiring the PI, and they're hiring a professional person that can review like Facebook data and cell phone data and all that. They're definitely hiring him on.
Yeah, that's
because he said there's like 37 pages of bullshit.
Well, and like I said, the easiest way to get into your federal court is a constitutional rights violation because there's no arguments. That's why I say this is the cleanest way you're going to go through to get to that court system as fast as you can. Is we're not talking about family law or the criminal aspect of it. We just want to deal with the constitutional rights violations, which this court does have the only authority to deal with. That's why it's set up with the plan to do it that way, because it gets you in that courtroom and realizing they also realize too, with that civil suit, the way you're doing it, it's also doing a criminal act. But that's where they're going to put you in mediation and do all this stuff. If you ever look at any of these cases that are ever filed, high profile, low profile, hey, they won so much money or this, that, they may have gone through with whatever, but there's been like a non-disclosure, or even the judge tries to throw it in. Well, we'll pay this amount of money and we'll do it now, or we'll come to terms with this or that, or not negotiating with the judge on their settlement. But we want to make sure that these people stay employed, so we don't want to have criminal action. So sign this non-disclosure, or they don't inform people because their own attorneys are not even aware of it. Hey, now we need to go talk to the DOJ and use the evidence from the civil trial and press criminal charges. That's the way it works. Yeah, I get everybody else. Why can't I just go to this? Why? Because they have built this system up and protected the shit out of it, even legally. That's what I'm talking about. So it gets you past it just with constitutional rights, because everybody, I had some people coming back and going, listen, I tried to file my federal case today. I go, did you talk about family law? Well, yeah, I told them. I go, see, that's where you screwed up.
Yeah,
keep it about constitutional rights. Bottom line, I don't want to talk about family law. They're going to bring it up, Your Honor. I never brought it up. That's going to be your argument for your attorney. I never brought it up. A good constitutional civil rights attorney, Your Honor, I'm here for constitutional rights violations. They want to bring up family law. Doesn't matter who they work for. They still have to answer to the Constitution, don't they, Your Honor? Argument's over. And that thing when they put forward on Feldman case, it's gone. Because that's the first thing they're going to ask your attorney, your federal attorney, is what is your intent? And that's what you have to go through, because as soon as you file that, it's automatic for every state to file a dismissal quoting Rooker versus Feldman. Nope, we're family court and we're not prosecutable or anything else like that. It has nothing to do with constitutional rights, and they don't have jurisdiction to do it in any state. It's your case. But now they know there's side effects to this. If they get you in civil court, they know they're going to criminal court, especially if you win the case. So that's why they go to mediation so fast. Once they review the evidence, they'll kiss your ass real fast. Here's a big pile of money. Just let us keep doing it.
Now, Gunnar, I gotta ask you: is there any in that stuff that you sent? Is there any stuff about guardian ad litems and how you can get them fired?
Guardian ad litems are part of the court. What you would have to get them with is under a conspiracy charge. So going through what we've given you with evidence, you have breaking and entering, your Fourth Amendment rights, seizure, all this other stuff, your 14th Amendment rights, those are in there. And then if you did not have a trial by jury, that overturns your case automatically. So as soon as the judge says, yes, that overturns your case automatic with the state, because you cannot have a legal trial without a jury. It overturns the case. It's still a massive constitutional rights violation because you're dealing with not the case, you're dealing with the constitutionality of the case is what you're dealing with. So that's why you keep it, hey, regardless if it's a family law case or not, Your Honor, due process is due fucking process. And this particular case law with SEC versus Jarsky says, because they have the ability to enforce or basically charge you civil penalties in a civil courtroom, you are 100% entitled to your thing. That's why Jarsky is so important that people don't get it. So
yeah, he said he was going to quote quite a few case laws, even the ones that were in the appellate court, just so they were on the record.
Yeah, I mean, you can add them all you want, and they'll shoot them down. See, here's the thing: they have a chance to shoot them down, but what we're giving you is enough for your attorney to understand the way or the path we're trying to give them is turn around and say, go down this path. This is one that is clear cut. You're going to win. Get past that sifting period with your federal case, because that says I should have had a fucking jury. That goes for your child support too. I mean, every bit of those. If they can penalize you civilly, got to have a fucking jury. And that's where you start pounding them. I mean, I've got them all the way from that to child support. I mean, I was just telling Darren earlier, I had to go to a child support hearing for my oldest son. He turns 18. Yeah, very vindictive, in my opinion. But once again, with my health condition, I'm not able to work. And still was going after it. And at the same time, it's like he turns 18 next month. What's the problem? And now you want to go backwards. And then they were having a fit, and you could tell it was just killing them, because they even said, we don't know what to do. We've never had a case like this. I said, well, it's based off your income, and I'm unable to work to an extreme medical condition. So what do you want to do? And we had a pre-existing contract too. Now, in my divorce, I didn't go through child support. We had agreed to an X amount of dollars per month per child up until the age of 18. That's contract law. So when we had that conversation in that thing, I says, we have an existing contract, and I'm not going to take and change it.
And you're on disability, right?
What's that?
You're on disability, right?
Working on it. I have to do my medical exam, which isn't hard to do because it's done by the cardiologist that I see anyway, because they're the specialists. So,
but you got your paperwork in, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, all my paperwork's in. I'm down to my almost the last step. So once the doctor, I just did my when you go through it, especially with special conditions like this, that they don't know what they do. I mean, unless you've got like stage 4 cancer, that's an automatic in. A few other, I mean, they still drag their feet on stuff. But the idea is generally you'll go through, you'll apply for it, you'll do it under your monies that you've paid in and or your medical condition. And then when I submitted it, they didn't pull all the medical records. So they, kicked it back, denied it. I did an appeal. I says, you didn't get all the medical records. What the hell? You're not doing your job, basically. And it's something to drag it out, like crazy. So, and this is just the way that system goes. And so You do that. You do a survey where you say about, how do you feel? What can you do? What you can't, rate it on this scale. It's like a paper survey. Then they go back to your doctor or your specialist and say, hey, is this possible? Now, it's harder to get a physical disability than it is a mental health disability, believe it or not. It's actually a lot easier for people to get a mental health. Why that's like that, I don't know. I think it's discriminatory, in my opinion, because if that's the case, then everybody should qualify that's ever had to deal with CPS.
I agree.
Yep. Right.
Then you need to pay reparations to everybody that's been tortured by their state government and their officials using my tax dollars. I mean, you want to go under that? That's where we should all be getting disability because of that.
Right.
Go ahead, Carrie. Carrie. Which one's Carrie? Are you? That's Tiffany.
That's Tiff.
So I keep seeing something over here. Carrie needs to talk now, but I don't see a Carrie.
Yeah, I don't see a Carrie either.
But listen, we've got a lot of this stuff laid out for that reason. But going through that's a pain in the butt to get your disability. And even going into like the child support, they were just like, well, you want to do this, you want to do that. And then they're trying to coax me into, hey, why don't you do this? And why don't you do that? And I'm like, why would I do that?
Not to cut you off, Gunner. It's all under the Social Security Act. Child support, CPS.
They're actually double dipping on it.
It's all under the Social Security Act. And what is happening is that so many people that really, what happened to the system as far as Social Security goes is that a lot of people were abusing the system and milking the system, meaning that the people that really didn't need to be on Social Security had Social Security claims. And so the people that really needed it, they were being denied claims. One thing about me, I help people apply for their Social Security. I do a number of different things, but I help them get approved for their disability. Now, it is quicker to get Social Security for mental, but it's supposed to be easier for medical. But what has happened is all of them, I want to say in the 1800s or something, I don't know the particular year, they got the hospitals involved with the doctors and CPS. And so all of them is all in cahoots together.
Well, so the Social Security Act of 1935 actually took and brought in a lot of that as a safeguard for after the stock market fell, as a safety net for people that weren't able to work anymore or certain things to take care of. That was the idea, or those that were neglected and dependent, such as orphans. So it was kind of a slush fund. When you read the Social Security Act of 1935, it has provisions in there for several things. But we've kind of abused the system. It's one of those things that started off with good intents. Now it's just overdone. I mean,
so many people abuse the system, and just like so many people abuse government assistance, which wasn't created for you to be on there for the rest of your life. You need to get a job. Now, people are disabled. We're not talking about the people that disabled that really need benefits. That's what happened to the system, where people were putting their kids on all this. I don't believe in medicating children, but we had parents. They did this simultaneously, but systematically. When they got the hospitals and the CPS and all of them involved, where they was wrongfully diagnosing people to keep the money coming in to big pharma. See, this is all, it all goes up into Washington, D.C. Even some of these politicians were aiding and abetting in this as well.
Tiff, I've got a thing I need to probably send you, and it's on the sanitariums, the history of sanitariums in the United States and Down syndrome. The International Down Syndrome Society published this document. So it's very well known.
Not to cut you off, it comes from a lot of medication and vaccinations, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So let me send, if I get a chance, I'll try and send that over to you, because that talks a lot about that. Because a lot of CPS was just to help out orphans, the orphanages, people that had lost their parents to, say, polio, or war veterans, those type of things. That's what it was there for. And the idea was only if they didn't have family to take care of them.
That's right.
That's what it was for. Now
They
you've
have
got
gotten away from that. Now it's the beast.
no,
Now
it's not even
they're
about that.
stealing people kids for money from the government. They just passed a law, by the way, here that now if they terminate parental rights within 6 months and they give guardianship, now they're giving extra bonuses. So they should start taking people kids rapidly because that they want that money. And I said, God forbid this, because it already had been ruled on in the Ninth Circuit Court that they can't do these things. Like I said before, like I say, we just finished our children rights class, and we found out that the United States didn't sign the treaty or ratify the protection of children's rights. So this is how they're the only country in the whole wide world. All the other countries, everything signed it, except the United States of America.
Well, here's one thing that we've brought up and we're going to bring up when we file our federal class action lawsuit, and we will keep you guys involved with that and keep you involved in that, because I know you guys will probably want to donate to help with the legal fees or those things, but it will affect everybody and it'll go straight to them. But the big concept is just trying to find a way to hold them accountable, to understand once we file this makes every CPS worker a felon. Criminal acts for violating the constitutional rights. And that's what we're going up against, is that whole system of filing that you've printed it. You guys have seen the evidence out there. If you looked over stuff, all 50 states, you have printed that you have the right to violate the Constitution, and you are using state and federal tax money to train people to commit felonies under the deprivation of rights under the color of law.
Barack Obama was in office, I've been writing the presidents and state officials for decades now, but I say to say this. When I wrote Barack Obama was in office, and attorney Loretta Lynch was the attorney, the DOJ of the Department of Justice. Okay, she was attorney. So I wrote her, and she said, "Well, I need you to write me a problem and solution." I was leery, because I'm in business, and some people try to take your ideas. But I wrote it to the United States of Justice, and I can see some of that stuff trickle down, and they started using some of those that I wrote to them back then years ago. And I said, one of the things that's a problem in the system is that if the individuals don't have children, then they need to take a parenting class to get familiar with children behaviors. Because you can't come in my house and I'm a mother of 13 children, and tell me what to do with my child when you ain't got kids of yourself. So I believe that experience is our greatest teacher. And if you haven't walked about in my shoes, you can't. Go ahead.
I think utilizing, say, some of the homes these kids are in and actually visiting those and having so many hours in those children's homes would be a great aspect, especially with the problem kids, of just saying, what is the root? But the problem is we're throwing band-aids on stuff. The root of it is you're destroying family, or the child has no family. And you're talking about missing one concept that every human being needs, is love. When you shut out a person for love, and then abuse and everything else, you wonder why the jails are so damn full. I'm sorry, they are completely hand in hand.
People that's incarcerated had a problem with the system in CPS cases. They were either in CPS custody or somebody in the family, and they target you. They target your whole family. If one person is in the system, you're not safe. Nobody in the family is safe. Nobody kids is safe.
Now, I just got to throw something out there, because I seen something that, Herbert said in the back room there. So Herbert, I know you're here and you're listening. I just want you to know that I cannot specifically talk about my criminal case. However, there is nothing saying in my paperwork that I cannot talk about my CPS case, because they never gagged me on that.
Nope.
Well, you know what I do? I got freedom of speech. Now I'm in criminal court and CPS court. Now I've been fighting the system since 1999. And what they do is they use scare tactics. They work together. The CPS and the police work together. They fall under 4th and 5th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Do not, hear me clearly if you're watching, do not let them in your home. Do not, if they come to your home knocking on your door, you make sure you pull out your recorder, your phone, and record them, everything to do with the police and CPS. Because what they're doing is killing us. Then they're taking our children and turning our children against us and having our and doing all this crazy, man. And so if you are driving your cars, listen clearly, and you have not committed no crime, you don't have to self-identify yourself to law enforcement. They are state agents. Okay, so if you haven't committed no crime and they pull you over, do not get out your vehicle. Do not allow them to search your vehicle. It says you have a right to be free from search and seizure. Okay, so if they don't have a search warrant, you ain't committed no crime. You can tell them I refuse to self-identify. Matter of fact, you have the right to remain silent. You just have some signs up on your door and tell them you ain't got nothing to say to them then, because you got the right to remain silent. These are your Miranda rights. You got the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to obtain an attorney. If one can't be afforded, one will be afforded by you by the state. See, and then they're supposed to ask you, do you understand these rights that I just have stated to you? You're supposed to say yes or no. So a lot of times people don't know their rights. So you got
but see, now you realize you've taught them in something else too. You realize that, right?
What you say?
Because they said you have a right to an attorney. Those are not Miranda rights. You are advertising for a private bar firm. Because it says right to counsel. That could be your pastor. That could be anybody else. You are advertising as a government employee for a private agency. They just, by reading you that, you read your Miranda? Nope. Right. I got an advertisement for an attorney.
Right. And see, that's the state bar hold their license. And a lot of times they go against their clients for the state. It's all about money, whether they court appointed or they pay them. I.e., it's already a conflict of interest. If the state is prosecuting me, then I.e., go get a state agent, which is an attorney, then guess what? That's a conflict of interest right there. So they plan a legal game. They plan administration law, and they doing all this stuff of corruption for money. They don't care about us. They don't care about our children. They don't care about our families.
Nope.
All they want is that money, that green paper. A lot of them serving the money god.
Adding the stuff from the SEC Jarski to our case, our class action, also puts every judge and magistrate that has ever heard a CPS case ever without a jury, puts them automatically removed.
Don't even have a FARA number.
What's that?
A FARA number. They don't. Some of them don't even have it.
Nope. And see, you're going to catch them when you open that can of worms. When we file this as saying everyone that's ever heard a CPS case, and I only need one. And here's the thing: you start advertising that I need one person for each judge or magistrate that has ever heard in your county for the past 10 years. I need that list at that time with this class action. They all have to be removed because then they all have to be served. You can now no longer this. You're talking about shutting down the court system in every state. The only thing that we able to operate is criminal.
I told Tiffany, she asked me, she said, how did you file your lawsuit? I said, I got my lawsuit out of a law book because I had plenty of law books. And I said, I filed my lawsuit under the color of law of 1983. I said, you got to sue them in their official capacity. She said, well, I don't know how to write it up. I said, well, I do. I would teach you exactly how to word it. And I would teach you what you need to do. You're supposed to notify them first before you file the federal lawsuit, telling them you're going to sue them, notifying them, their agents, the representatives, the state, the attorney general. You notify them in a letter, get it notarized, say, hey, I'm going to file a lawsuit against you. Do you want to go to mediation and handle this out of court before we take it to federal court?
Well, that's going to be their go-to anyway. But before they do anything, then their next step is going to be filing under the Rooker case to try and throw it out, saying that, well, federal courts can't get involved in state courts. Well, that was the whole conversation we were having before I think you caught the tail end of it, of just saying we're not talking about family court. We're talking about constitutional rights.
We're talking about constitutional rights, right? We're not talking about family rights. And we're not talking about civil rights. Civil case and family law court. We're talking about civil rights. Your civil rights, your human rights, children's rights under the Constitution of the U.S.
And that's where we're trying to push everybody, just kind of give everybody the thing. But the rest is up to you guys to do your work. Go there with your federal attorney to the specifics of your case. Why? This is somebody you're going to work with for a while. You're going to hit them with the civil rights. You're going to talk to the DOJ and then press criminal charges. Then once the criminal charge is done, then you can go after them again in federal court for the criminal actions. That's where you get those.
See, the thing is, it's all criminal. And then here's the thing that's been happening. See, abuse and neglect is a crime, punishable by law, 10 years or more, felony, misdemeanor, according to the said state. That is the law across the 52 states. So it needs to be handled in the criminal court of law. If I really abuse my children, then I need to handle it in the criminal court. The reason that they don't want to go in the criminal court because they got to produce evidence, and it's on the state. It's on the state. The burden of proof is on the state.
The bar is much lower, yes.
So basically, with CPS, what they're doing, they're just making up their own rules of what abuse and neglect is under administration law, and just doing whatever they want to do in civil court.
They tried to threaten me. The ADA tried to threaten me. He says, well, I haven't decided whether I'm going to press criminal charges. I told him, I says, you know what? I'll be straight honest with you. I fucking dare you. I said, because you know why? Because you entered my house without a warrant. That's my house. I was never served a warrant. I wasn't even home. And she doesn't have permission to get that, let alone that's called coercion to enter. You've got to have this. I have homesteader rights that outrage that.
You know what they say? Exigent circumstances.
Nope.
What is the other one? The other one,
err on the side of caution is another fun one.
Yeah, and then the other one is where's the limb? I can't think of the name, and it's right on the tip of my tongue. They use these two reasons.
Imminent danger.
Yeah, imminent danger. You said it right. You said it right there, brother. It was on the tip of my tongue. Imminent danger.
How do you know if there's imminent danger if you didn't break into my house, though?
Well, that's what needs to be done
right.
first and foremost.
And my thing is, when they held me at, when the police held me at gunpoint,
hold on. The bottom line of all this stuff, Tiffany, hold on. The bottom line to this is imminent danger needs to be defined, and it needs to be defined what an imminent danger situation is, because all of this handles from what imminent danger is. You think imminent danger is one thing, I think it's another. They're all allowing everybody's uses to be put into this, and it can't be. It needs to be certain specific facts that create an imminent danger situation.
And it's defined in that case law we give you. A federal judge has determined what determines imminent danger under federal case law. They can't make shit up, Your Honor. So long as you introduce the case law, Your Honor, federal case law says imminent danger is listed as this. And that's where they've even defined too that an anonymous call is not imminent danger.
Right.
Because it's supposed to be life, limb to death. But like he said, a call, anybody can call the 1-800 hotline and say, I did XYZ. That don't mean it's truth. A thorough investigation is supposed to be conducted. What is happening is these two entities, i.e. the police, i.e. CPS, is they playing games. The police supposed to do their thorough investigation, but then they're handing it off to CPS. CPS don't do a thorough investigation. It's supposed to be an investigation for 30 days.
Broken the law,
but guess
and the police have come there.
They all playing the games.
If you've broken the law and the police come to your house, they arrest you, right?
Criminal.
Nobody else is getting arrested. No one's
who's been in danger. The state can't be an injured party.
Right. There's nobody getting arrested when they come and do these investigations on your house. Nobody's walking around handcuffed because there is no abuse or neglect.
And there's no contract. That's the whole point. There's no contract. The only way they're able to operate and state things under administrative law is statutes and codes. I have no contract with you. None.
Me either.
And that's contractual law. But see, when they get the parents to sign that safety plan, that's the contract right there. And what you're saying is that you abuse your kids and you need the government help.
Until they forge it, and then the judge throws it out like it's my case. He forged my damn name on all of it and then lied about it in court.
I believe it.
My attorney said he had permission to do it. My attorney's going to be testifying in my federal case because he committed perjury.
But I have found that
and fraud, falsifying documents is fraud. And that's filing a frivolous motion or a frivolous document.
I had a judge tell me one time, not tell me, I read it one time in case law on Scribe that it says point blank, in order for you to be terminated your parental rights, that you have to have criminal charges brought against you. That's the only way that it could happen. I don't know where it went to, and I would welcome anybody to go ahead and look for it, because it is there somewhere, but to find it, because it is there. And if we could find that, that could open up a whole new damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, Tiff, I had to get that out there right at that moment.
No, what is it? I'm trying to put it in. I'm trying to put it into my computer so I can look it up.
The judge that
Google
ruled in order for there to be a termination of parental rights, the Attorney General would have to then issue award the police arrest warrant for you on the criminal side. That's the only way you could get a termination of parental rights, was if there was a criminal case drawn on you.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did to me.
Yep.
Right. But that means they'd be charging you with an actual, because here's the thing, abuse and neglect, like she says, that's a law. You can't abuse and neglect. Like that's a law. You cannot do that. So then why is criminal charges not faced with every parent that's been TPR'd, every parent because there's no evidence of it. You're absolutely right. There's people like me, like you, like all
they're
of
actually interfering in a criminal investigation is what they're doing, because almost every state except for Texas, those anonymous calls go directly to CPS. They go to CPS. And in every state, they have lobbied to not prosecute some people. In some states, they've changed it a lot, more recently, some states have, to investigate that if you've made a false report, to go after you. Most of the time,
this is what it says on Google. The AI said it. It says, no, an attorney general does not necessarily need to bring criminal charges to initiate a termination of parental rights case. Typically, a child welfare agency or another party would file a civil petition in family court to begin the process of termination parental rights, which would be based on evidence of neglect, abuse, abandonment, not necessarily requiring a criminal conviction beforehand. That is what it's
so now here's the big picture for me. You have constitutional rights as parents and children, right? So why is a lower court dealing with a constitutional issue? They don't have jurisdiction.
Well, every court
without jurisdiction, there is no case, but it's about money. Go ahead, Darren.
But that's my point. We're going to ask in the case law, Your Honor, when we do the class action, is going to be, if it's constitutional rights, why are they dealing with it? Because this is a constitutional issue. The lower courts don't have authority. So why is a administrative court even dealing with something that deals with constitutional issues? That's going to be the huge question that they haven't really addressed.
Well, and what's even huger is, why did they stop it from probate court and go to the district courts? Because originally all this stuff was going to the probate courts.
Yeah.
So then the state of Maine still goes through the probate. And probate
it says key points to remember. Here we go. This was AI.
It's in the case law that I found. It's in the case law. It's not a law or anything. It's some case law that a judge ruled.
Right. It says civil proceedings, termination of parental rights is primarily a civil matter. That's a lie right there. It is not primarily a civil matter. It is a criminal matter. Meaning that if a person actually abused, okay, we're going to get into what they're saying. Meaning it is handled in a family court through a petition filed by a relevant party, not through criminal prosecution by the attorney general. That's not even true. A court may consider factors like child abuse, neglect, abandonment, several mental illness, substance abuse, or parents' inability to provide for the child basic needs as grounds for termination. Criminal convictions can be relevant, while not always required. A parent's criminal conviction related to child abuse or neglect can be strong evidence supporting termination of parental rights. That's what it says.
Well, okay, here we go. So in REKL 300 versus Kansas, this case involved the Kansas Supreme Court, which means that you could use this anywhere, which held that a parent's criminal history must demonstrate an inability to provide proper care for the child. The court ruled that the state must show a direct connection between the criminal behavior and the risk to the child's well-being.
What case is that? What case law is that?
KL.
Listen, let's move on to something here real quick to just get on, and I want to get everybody's attention about this. And this has to do with the floods and everything. I'm over in East Tennessee. We're right here close to North Carolina. We see a lot of what's going on, the traffic, the people coming in and out, the food, the trucks, the people that have been turned away, all this stuff that it's real. And we called it early. They says, you watch, they're going to lose everything. And the first thing is DSS or CPS is going to come in there and start stealing kids. There's already been one plane load of kids gone.
Jesus
That
Christ.
there's always been, just gone from the early parts of the flood. That how do you know those kids didn't belong to somebody or somebody else survived? They just carted them off. There was no family reunification. There was none of this other stuff. And it's one of those things of saying, now I want you to think about this. If the economy tanked and everybody went dead fucking broke like the Great Depression, starving, barely able to put food on our table, anything else like that particular thing, what do you think happens to all the children across the country? They become property of the state under what is on the books in every state right now. And people say it's not going to happen. It's happening. They were coming after kids during COVID-19 because people couldn't afford to pay nothing, and they were getting evicted, and they couldn't provide food because they couldn't go to work, and all these other things. It was a fucking champ for CPS to bump their numbers up real fast.
Yeah.
So you telling me it doesn't happen and it ain't going to affect any and everybody, middle income, upper middle income? What happens when this all shuts down? The dollar ain't worth nothing.
Yeah, we're all the same, man. We're all the same when it comes down to that stuff. Everybody's
you guys
the same.
can see that video that I just posted in here, Darren?
Yeah.
That will blow your mind.
Is that the one from that's showing the stuff?
This is for trafficking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not about this thing.
No,
it's not another instrumental by Vinny.
Like no. This is this.
But guys, this is scary because it's hitting home and it's hitting here. So it's hitting here in East Tennessee and in Western North Carolina. They have moved right in and they say, you have so much time to do this. This is why the Amish have come in out of Lancaster. They are going to be here, I think, for the next 96 days. And they're looking for places to have home camp to help build little homes, especially with winter coming. These families have got nothing. Some of them have no family, nowhere to go. Everything they've ever known is gone. Nobody's helping out. All the money that was supposed to be saved for natural disaster has been spent on other things. They're finding out there's leaks all over. And like I said, they're starting to steal kids. And trust me, you start getting North Carolina militia, where some of the sheriffs have already formed militias, it's going to pop. It's a pressure cooker right now. So I'm telling you guys, keep your eyes open, because if they get to town and where this is at and they start stealing babies and the militia comes to town, it's over, because those are constitutional sheriffs.
Well, on that note, I mean, I can kind of tell you what that link is kind of about. Disney employees busted in Florida human trafficking sting that nabbed 157 suspects.
Yep.
Go figure. Disney World and human trafficking. That's crazy.
Yep.
One thing you'll always find about somebody that wants to take and abuse children, they find or they put themselves in a place to be around children.
Right.
My wife told me that. She goes, those are the studies and everything else. They will want to work with children. They'll want to do this. You want to do that? I says, I can guarantee you, most people I know, I says, they love their kids, but most of the time they can't stand anybody else's damn kids being around, let alone to do all that stuff. I said, it's more like I'm ready to go home. I had enough of it, But
that's why I've always, I love my kids right to death, but when it comes to me working, I don't want to work around kids.
So listen, if everything pops off, I'm going to give you guys
it's
a little information.
Because I love children. I have 13 children, and I also work with children. I'm a protector of children, so I work with children. But now I'm older. I don't want to work with children now, but I did because mostly all my kids are grown, and my baby, she's 16. So now I don't want to work with kids because I don't have the patience for them. But I love children. Gunner is absolutely right. People that are pedophiles and different things like that, they will try to infiltrate jobs and different stuff like that.
Houston, did you hear about Houston where they were forging teaching for certificates?
They do that all the time.
Yeah, I was reading something about that today.
Oh. So listen, guys, if it pops off and you have somebody that turns around and finally opens their eyes and they go, listen, I didn't see the light. I understand they're coming for us and this and that. and they've got one of these fun electric cars. And people say we're not going to be able to take and do much. I'm going to tell you a little bit of science. A 2 liter of salt water in an electric car, well, we know what happens there. So if you have to defend yourself, if it comes down to it, find all your friends with your electric cars and you make a hell of a damn barrier. I mean, thanks to Elon Musk and some of the other things, if it does kick off here, people don't realize I was having a conversation with another Gen X and an E4 Mafia. And if you know what that is, well, a couple of those guys, they're like, hey, if anything goes wrong and, we're discharged now and anything else, he says, it pops off. I'm getting so many electric cars. He says, all the hippie cars. I'm like, what for? He says, man, that and a little bit of salt water. He says, they ain't getting past nothing. You ever see that stuff burn? And then they just had that lithium, that new factory just caught on fire too and exploded. That lithium factory that was all over the news. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, a little scary to drive if it's,
one thing I want to say is that the government create wars. COVID was already here in the flu vaccination, but and not only that, coronavirus that was a direct assignment from the government to kill off. They do what they call population control.
Yeah.
There's so many different places where the water is not safe for you to drink. I mean, I'm born and raised in Flint, and they killed a lot of people with the water there. But there's other places too where the water is not safe to drink, and so they do population control to kill people off because this is what the powers that be does. They do zoning. They do a lot of racial things, stuff. They do a lot of things.
Cities, 5-minute cities, all this new stuff, containing walls.
Right.
But once again, you train and you condition enough people for enough time, they'll get comfortable with it because now you have people that don't know how to communicate with each other, human beings with each other. They're more text, they're more this or more that. That's like a couple of these young gentlemen out there. It's like, what are you doing? I'm gonna ask this girl out. What are you doing? I'm texting her. I go, I'm gonna smack this taste out your mouth, son. Go over there and ask this girl out to her face. Don't
well,
be
they
that.
raised
Don't
like
do
you
that.
was raised, Gunner. See, I hate texting, but the other generation, that's all they want to do is text. They growing up with this social media, this texting, this computer.
Well, you take away the
computer.
personalness of it. You don't have to disappoint somebody if you don't have to say it to their face. You text it real quick, say I'm not coming in tonight, and then go throw your phone, and then it's like it never happened. You don't have to see the reactions. You don't have to see any of that stuff.
And see, there's the biggest part we need to have is human interaction. We need to have that because that's what's separating us to understand. Over a text message, I don't get to feel your energies when you're close to somebody, that excitement, that, this and that. I mean, I could say some of those things that, as far as some of us, like when we, found our significant others or whatever, how that made us feel. I wouldn't take and miss that for the world. The way that you're able to be close, the way you're able to connect, just being around them, that shared energy that you have and just that sense of peace and all that other stuff, you're not going to get that. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get that stuff over a text message. You're not going to learn body language. You're not going to learn facial expression. You're not going to get to know that person. And you wonder why the divorce rate was so high, especially for a lot of the millennials, so quick turnover. Was I'm married and I don't know who that person is. And you could go out to one restaurant and it was always amazing. My wife was sitting there, I had business at the time. I put my case down, my phone down, upside down and left it there just in case of an emergency. She kept hers there, but everybody else was doing this when they were on their date and everything. And I'm looking around and I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And this one guy's over here, he was like, man, I was really hoping to hook up with this girl of everything else, or, kind of just really get to know this girl. But, we're both just kind of sitting here on the phones. And, she got up to use the bathroom. She was a little frustrated because she had a lot of anticipation. My wife are really good. And we love to people watch, but you can just read people's body language. And I just kind of leaned over. I said, man, put your phone down and talk to her. And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, dude, tell her you want to get to know her. I says, ask her some questions about herself. What she likes to do, what she likes to read, what kind of music she likes to listen to, all these different things. Interact with her within this or that. I was saying, I'm going to put this down that you are my total focus. I says, and that's called respect. I said, people are disrespecting each other and you don't even realize it, but you're losing the art of communication. And that is one thing that has caused us with a division, is we've lost the ability to, the division between race, because we can't talk the same language. You have it between religion. You can't talk the same language. I mean, you go through all these different things of just saying, forget dealing with our differences. Let's talk about our similarities. What do we got going with us? How's this going to work? Long term, short term. What are your expectations? You're not going to get that off of this. And all of a sudden, it was just like he got done. And he's like, hey, man, I want to pay for your meal because you helped us out so much. We liked each other so much. It's just either one of us didn't know how to say it. I said, man, just step up. And see, that's one thing that, a lot has not been done, because you've taken a lot of fathers out of the home and a lot of other things because of divorce and some of the other things, because of the stuff that's in our, I'm going to put it where it belongs. We've been poisoned, both men and women, that it's got our hormones and our brain chemistries and everything all messed up. That's caused a lot of this. And just turn around and say, let's change that. Let's do something different and have that conversation to realize what's going on and get past the fake facade, the face, the insecurities, all the little butterflies. You're not going to get that off a text message. And see, that's what they hate about us, is they don't want us talking. And the amount of the people that have come in with all the bullshit and all the other stuff, and you get them, like, even you'll see CPS workers on some of the groups like Facebook or some of the others. Like, I can just tell they had one woman that said, just give in, follow their plan, do this. Oh, they got to her. They broke her. And she's like, just do as you're told, obey the system. I mean, it was just regurgitation of everything. It was like, they broke you. You're just that broken that they found whatever that was the thing. And no support system, because that's the first thing CPS does, is scatter your support systems. If you're in a church, that's the last thing you're going to do. They're going to point fingers. Well, what did you do to lose your kids? Well, maybe you didn't give enough to the church. Maybe you didn't do this. Maybe you should have done more of this and this and that.
And they attack you too if you, like, I'm a minister. They attack you when you minister and believe in different things. They say that's abuse. They crazy.
Oh yeah, that's my freedom of religion. I mean, You've got it so bad. Listen, it's so bad right now. You got the fucking Amish coming out to vote. The Amish.
Are they even allowed to vote in their own religion?
Yes. They're completely allowed to vote. They just religiously usually kept out of the election, but it's so bad. They said, we are in fear of our religious freedoms and our way of life, that now it's attacking us. We usually stay out of it, but we already feel the chains going on our wrists, basically. And it's another form of slavery. This is Project Paperclip that brought in a lot of those ideals, and basically sleeper cells that we brought into here, that now we are seeing the fruits of those seeds planted from the breakup of Nazi Germany and the ideals of Marxism and socialism that don't work. And they're saying the free economy doesn't work. No, because we're running under a corporation. We're not running for the people. You make it about the businesses, just do the businesses, take out their ability to lobby and make the laws of the land and everything else about the people. You're going to see a good country. You're going to see a country thrive, a constitutional republic, but you've got politicians out there that constantly are using the word democracy. We don't have a freaking democracy.
We sure don't. They're taking our rights every way you turn. We don't have no democracy.
You go into a courtroom.
We have lawlessness, corruption, greed,
you go into a courtroom,
and fear.
The judge should be, how can I help you today to resolve your problems? That's what they're supposed to be there for. The state ones are supposed to be dealing with commercial shit only, not the private citizen. There's the other problem. They've wrapped you up in commerce law.
Yeah,
and everything else, and admiralty courts and all the other things, and they can't deny it. They've even come out and says, listen, I only deal with what? I do codes, and sorry, I'm blanking out a little bit here, but codes and statutes. They don't have authority to do anything else. And it's only supposed to be under commerce or commercial stuff. They're supposed to be dealing with contracts. And then if you commit something in a state that you've committed a crime and you haven't crossed state lines, to punish you criminally, but they still have to follow the Constitution. The Constitution is never thrown out during business, during, whether you're operating a business, you can't do something unconstitutional. You can't do it in government. You're not supposed to be able to do this, but they've got so far away from it, and they've lobbied for it to make this damn money. And now all these case laws are falling, and they're falling apart, and they're scared shitless. They know we're coming.
They trying to push it off. They already know that. They know we coming. They already know it. They shouldn't have took people's children and kidnapped them. My kids was all abused and raped and molested, and they was tortured and put in mental hospitals, put on medication. That went on for almost 6 years. They don't care.
Leave me the fuck alone. Leave my family alone. If I need help, I'll come to you. It's the way that fucking system was designed.
That's right.
Not snitches. This ain't fucking China. We don't have a social credit system.
That's why I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, because the Clintons is the one passed the Black Family Act that got this government involved.
They started bumping that up.
Adoption money for the child. If the child continues into college, it goes, I think, until their 24th birthday. So that's what it's about.
They have got everything wrapped up. The idea is, where are we helping children? We're not.
They're not.
And they always say, we're here for the children. We're here for the children. No, you're not.
They're not even protecting the best interest of the child law. They're not even protecting kids. Matter of fact, I had a police officer tell me, 3 police officers, to be in fact, that he didn't understand how it is that they go into some houses with CPS and the children were getting really abused and they wouldn't even take them out of the home. You know why? Because they harder to adopt. See, they want good parent children and good children so they can be easier to adopt out.
And the other thing from those adoption processes that I'm looking at, that I've seen a lot of cases with it, that a lot of people have been flagged for having firearms or being hunters, and it being kicked out unless you're a police officer or in the legal system that you can get away with having a firearm.
But that's because they infringing upon our Second Amendment rights right now. They don't want nobody to have firearms but the police.
Part of that questionnaire.
They're trying to do martial law.
Have you looked at it, Tiffany? The questionnaire they have when they come in the house? Do you have weapons in the house? Do you have this? That goes on a state server. They are keeping an illegal registry.
Yep. That's
right.
And
I don't get how people are not, what I'm saying, not catching on to this, that people are like, hey, they're after you. They're after you. They're after you. And it's just a matter of time, but, they're going to come for everything.
Yeah, they're already planning to do it.
Well, they've already said that.
That's the New World Order. That's the New World Order. They already planning to do it. They already spying on us.
Listen,
they already taking our privacy.
Our Constitution, for everybody out there, just so we're clear, our Constitution guarantees us to call bullshit, and the Constitution and the law is on our side.
That's
Why?
Right.
Because it was written by we the people. We the people are the government.
We
are the government.
That's
when
right.
they turn around, well, I'm the government. No, you're not. You are a
you work for us.
Representative or appointed official. It's as simple as that. You are not above anybody. You are appointed to represent an area or do this. Other than that, it's we the people. So you want to take and turn the government on the people. This isn't that.
Hey, can I address somebody in the chat real quick? Debbie Allen. What they do to children in the system, they turn the child against the parents, and they tell the child all kind of lies against the parents. They have my kids coming to their visits saying they wanted to be adopted, and all kinds of mind manipulations and that they do, abuse that they do to their minds. And then they started putting my kids, they was getting abused, and they started my kids started coming to the visit point, reporting the abuse, and they put them in mental hospitals and stuff like that. So that's what they do to children. They turn the child against the parents and try to get the child to say things against the parents. Another thing they do, Debbie Anderson, is that they falsify documents and they twist everything the child says against you. They are not your friend. They twist all your words and all the children words and falsify documents and write all these reports when it's supposed to be reunification within 1 year.
Listen,
that's the
guys,
law. If they keep them longer, then they have to file a motion with the court to keep the child longer.
The point of our class action, and I love talking to you guys and getting all these different things, because we want to articulate to the attorney or a team of attorneys the constitutional rights violations such as an illegal gun registry. That's already been ruled on. Once that is, all this stuff comes to light, the idea is shining the light in the big stage and saying, we've got you. We've got you, because that's all it does. We've already got copies of those surveys and everything that talks about that stuff. It's all printed. It's all the same. And it's just, I mean, when people do that, the rest of it is when people realize they are not alone and they're not defeated, because after you get done working with CPS, there is so much guilt and shame that you feel less than anything else. Even just an encounter and you do get to keep your kids, or you get your kids back, you are mentally abused. They have played the role of psychological warfare, and that is what they have proposed to the state, and that is the platform that they are riding on. But understand this, what they're not telling you is this: psychology is a soft science. It's not an absolute, okay? It's not like I can take two chemicals and put them together and I will get this every time. That's what that means. It means that no two people are the same. You could have the same personality traits, the same clicks, the same this and that, and one person turns out to be a mass murderer. But at the same time, an FBI has done these studies, okay, where you're a mass murderer or you're a huge successful business person and entrepreneur. Why? Because the mind works the same way, but it depends on the direction it's going. So we've got to understand what they're attacking us with is a soft pseudoscience of saying, Your Honor, we have come up that these people are the type of people that are abusers. And this is what we've studied. This is what we've
Gunner, let me address Ms. Anderson again. Okay, usually if children are displaying that type of behavior, Debbie Anderson, hiding under tables and don't want to leave, that they may be being abused. I would call in a check, meaning that it's called a welfare check where he's at. I would call in a report to the system, Debbie Allen, and I would make sure that they check out the home, the foster placement home where he's at. Okay, children, if they're that young, usually don't lie, and they only hide on the tables and react to things that's going on with them, so they act in their behaviors.
Now, let me interject there real quick. Unless you're dealing with a neurodivergent child, neurodivergent child is on the spectrum of autism. So
we're at that time, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do some last thoughts.
I'm going to go with Old Faithful. Violate the fourth, you're going to get the second.
I know that's right. I like it, Gunner.
All right, Tiffany, what's your last thoughts here?
My last thought is, don't allow people to intimidate you. Keep the faith, keep the fight, but stay strong and remain vigilant.
Nice. What about you, Mr. Gunner?
Well, like I said, I'm going to go with probably, like I said, violate my fourth, you're going to get the second. And if you want to play a game of fuck around and find out, I'll be just as happy to oblige you. Why? Because the Constitution stands on my side.
That's good stuff right there. I like that. Vinny, what do you got, buddy?
I'm just going to say this, remember we got the show tomorrow night. I should be being joined by Danielle tomorrow night, I hope. If not, I'll have Mr. Herbert on the show with me. But remember, guys, over the weekend, if CPS comes knocking, do not let them into your house. You don't have to let them in unless they have a warrant. And remember, your kids always come first, so keep fighting.
Yeah, I like that, baby. I like that a lot. Well, I'm going to say this, guys. It is the weekend. Make sure you don't let CPS in your house at any given time ever, especially this weekend, because it's a long time before the courts are going to hear you without your kids. I am the CPS functor.
Learn all you can about CPS and understand how CPS works, and know what you can and cannot do to avoid being a victim of CPS.
And scientifically speaking, just for information purposes only, the smallest round that's available out there for a 22 is more deadly than any other round that is out there. Just for your information.
Once it's charged all the way up, though. Once it's charged all the way up, just bring it down.
All right,
a 223 is a 22. Got it? A 223 is a 22.
Heard several medals by slanging that heavy metal. Turquoise and a feather. Speaking to the spirits, baby, tell me you can hear it. I die for what I hold dearest. Hope it never has to come to that. Promise I'm never gonna stand my ground like a man. Draw the line in the sand. Yeah, family over everything, regardless how it land. I'll be damned if my soul damn. And me and Karma gotta hold hands. I'll go to war any minute. I'll be fighting for my children, so the enemy got no chance. I'm a warrior for what's right, even though I did some wrong things. I wanted to get on for my offspring, try to do it big so my kids could enjoy all of the small things. They said it could die young, I'm still breathing. I'm the son of the righteous, but my father was a heathen. When I go with him, I'm leaving a story worth reading, or a bunch of tales that probably drive my children off the deep end. Said it could die young, I'm still breathing. I may have ran with some demons, but I've never been a heathen. I believed all along, writing my wrongs in my songs. I put family over everything till everything was gone. Yeah, I know I've been a bad guy, but I always had a good heart. Played the part of a villain, been a hero for my children. When I'm no longer living, just remember all the good parts. I know I've been a bad guy, but I always had a good heart. Played the part of a villain, been a hero for my children. When I'm no longer living, just remember all the good parts. I had a talk with the angels, told me I'm in danger. Look at my reflection, see the image of a stranger. Been a long ride, what will I do with the remainder? Good die young, so my species are endangered. In the jungle with my guns out. Been through the storm, but the sun's out. I see the clouds coming, I'm not running from the flood, cause this time the enemy is gonna get flushed out. I'm on the pirate ship with all my gold. It can sink, the story still be told. This is the tale of the hopeless, I'm the poet of the broken, never truer words spoken from the soul.
You good, bro? Yeah. You look like you just buried a body. You could say that.
They said it could die young, I'm still breathing. I'm the son of the righteous, but my father was a heathen. When I go with him, I'm leaving a story worth reading, or a bunch of tales that probably drive my children off the deep end. Said it could die young, I'm still breathing. I may have ran with some demons, but I've never been a heathen. I believed all along, writing my wrongs in my songs. I put family over everything till everything was gone. Yeah, I know I've been a bad guy, but I always had a good heart. Played the part of a villain, been a hero for my children. When I'm no longer living, just remember all the good parts. I know I've been a bad guy, but I always had a good heart. Played the part of a villain, been a hero for my children. When I'm no longer living, just remember all the